It's funny looking back because we think of things now pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Absolutely.
And we did a survey before COVID happened in 2018, 2019 to see if we needed to provide the internet. And the survey basically said no, people had internet. They were happy with it. There was no need for us to do it. And then COVID happened. And having students at home doing the telelearning, people doing telehealth, people working from home, that was one of the main things that let people know that their internet was not what they thought it was.
Welcome back to Century Check-In. I'm Nancy Pitts, and I'm going to be your host today. I am the manager and a producing agent for Century Insurance Agency, and we are located at 329 Oak Street, directly behind the main branch of Century Bank. And we sell auto, home, and commercial. And if we can ever help you with your insurance needs, please let us know. But today I'm excited because I have some wonderful guests from Singing River Electric Cooperative with me today. I have Amanda Parker and Clark Rounsaville. And Amanda, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with Singing River Electric and a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Amanda Parker. I am the manager of marketing and public relations for Singing River Electric and Singing River Connect, our fiber internet subsidiary. I've been there just over 19 years, and we handle all areas of external and internal communication, advertising, promotional items, community service, anything that you see coming out from Singing River Electric and Connect comes from our department.
Wonderful. Clark, why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm, as you said, Clark Rounsaville. I'm an engineer at Singing River Electric. Been there a little over 8 years. As an engineer, we wear many different hats. That goes from system planning to getting into operations. So every day's an adventure, and it's a great place to work.
I was telling Clark earlier that my first grade teacher was Miss Rounsaville, so we have a little bit of a connection there. So, well, one of the things that is coming up is the 20th anniversary of Katrina. And so we wanted to touch a little bit on that and how it affected the Mississippi Gulf Coast. One of the things that affected our family was the day after, Katrina, I'm driving a tractor. Yes, I grew up on a farm, know how to drive a tractor. And my husband and my sons were tying big limbs to the back of the tractor, and we were dragging them off. And Singing River pulled up in our yard, and they said, we don't have good news. It's probably going to be 6 weeks to 2 months before you get your power back. And we're like, oh, because of all the destruction. So we went to into crisis mode, I guess, trying to make a plan. We're going to survive. Everything's going to be good. What do we need to do? But less than a week later, I had come in from being outside and sat down, and I looked up at the ceiling, and the ceiling fan started spinning. So less than a week later, our power was restored, and it was such a blessing. I don't know what it is about having electricity that it normalizes things, just makes you think everything's going to be okay. But everybody has a Katrina story. Would you mind telling us yours, Amanda?
Sure. At the time, I lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we experienced power outage, but nothing like the devastation on the Gulf Coast. My parents lived in Pascagoula. They had about 18 inches of floodwaters in their home, so they had to tear everything down, halfway down with the sheetrock and throw away furniture and all of that. And I actually came to Singing River the following July and moved into their home to take this job. And I still remember having to knock sheetrock dust off of my clothes whenever I would try to get up in the morning. But it was a great time to come home to be able to help them with the process and experience that part for myself. And then also at Singing River, they had gotten the power back on, but there was still a lot of permanent repairs that still had to be done. So I was able to be part of that and watch the employees as they fully recovered and as the whole service territory recovered.
I remember the first views that I saw of Washington Avenue in Pascagoula. I had a first cousin that lived on Washington Avenue, and there were no houses when they were flying over. And I just remember it, it was just a horrible experience, just tough stuff. But neighbors helping neighbors, that's what we love about South Mississippi. Clark, what's your story?
So I'm on a different end of the spectrum. I was just a kid. I was 10 at the time. I'm gonna show my age. It was different for me. Obviously, I got a big break from school, which at 10 I thought that was great. But I was like you. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Greene County, and I was a long ways from anything. We were almost a week before we got to town, and we were on the tail end of that second week of getting power. But like you said, electricity, it's a fundamental need of life, and we don't realize how many things that we depend on it for. And even back then, I can look back, and that might have changed my thinking and kind of set me on the trajectory of where I ended up in my career of, hey, well, I'm at home and I'm serving the people that I'm with here. And we take that responsibility serious.
Well, you guys are very much appreciated. I mean, there's through all the storms and everything. So let's talk a little bit about what's changed in 20 years, how we storm prep. Let's kind of do a before the storm prep, during the storm, and then what steps need to be taken after the storm. So if I'm telling my insurance customers what they need to be doing to prep for a storm, I'm like, cut the tree limbs away from your house. Do something with that trampoline. Trampolines cause enormous amounts of damage when the wind picks them up and slams them into things. Make sure your patio furniture is put away. Make sure you're taking care of your family, your pets. Have a plan in place of what you're going to be needing to do. Have that 3 to 5 days worth of supplies to take care of you and your loved ones. But from a company perspective on Singing River, how do y'all prep? If you had a Katrina in the Gulf right now, what steps would you guys be taking to get ready for the storm?
So we have an emergency preparedness plan, and of course, having Katrina shaped that plan, and it is a living, breathing plan that we review every year and have additions. We review contact information for contractors and food preparers and everything else that you can think of, where if you can't get to a computer, you need to be able to get to this binder where all of the information is there. We review that as a staff, and then we talk about the different roles. I know in Clark's role with the linemen, they have pre-assigned areas whenever there is a storm, so they know what office to report to. The other people, they know their shifts. We know who is going to be contacting people for food, laundry, if it's going to be a long-standing storm. And then, of course, we make sure we have materials and equipment that are available. And, of course, now with supply chain issues, we have to do that sooner with other items. So to make sure, especially this time of year, we have those on hand. And then, now we have so many thunderstorms throughout the year. So sometimes we have many, and tornadoes, we have many storms that let us put the plan into place. And then we just do that on an even greater scale if there is a hurricane.
Yes. And during a storm, I know some people tend to panic, during a storm. If I'm talking to my insurance, I'm going to be like, my insurance, I'm going to tell them, take care of your family. If your roof starts leaking, put something under the leak to catch the water, but take care of your family. But during a storm, Clark, what do you advise your customers to do during a storm?
Well, number one, stay safe.
Exactly.
Right? You have to have a self-preservation to keep you and your family out of harm's way. And as it pertains to Singing River Electric, my advice, and we have tons of documentation. There's actually an article on our website of what to do during the storm. And there's a whole checklist, but I always advise people, stay away if, damage is going to happen to an electric distribution system during a storm. It's inevitable. We can just accept that. Okay. stay away from our facilities. Don't go near them, because there's no guarantee that that's de-energized at that point, right?
That's right.
We can't predict what happens when Mother Nature takes over. So stay away from it, and in due time, when it's safe for our personnel to get back out and go to work, we will. There's nothing more that our employees would rather do than come serve our membership. That's what they signed on for, and they embrace that challenge. But stay away from Singing River's facilities, and that's the safest thing that we can do.
Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about after the storm. So what I would tell my insureds is survey your damage, take pictures, take preventative measures to prevent further damage. Lots of pictures, but like if you have a hole in your roof, try to get a tarp on it, because try to minimize the damage, because it may be a while before the repairs can be made, before your insurance adjuster can get out once you filed a claim. So after the storm, let's talk about after the storm, the day after. There's down power lines, no electricity. What do we need to tell people to do?
Hopefully they've had their plan in place.
Hopefully so.
If they do rely on medical equipment, hopefully they have made a plan, because as he said, when Mother Nature comes through, we can't predict what the damage is going to be. We can go out and survey it, but if you do rely on medical equipment, then you need to have a plan to be able to not be at your home and be at a place with electricity. And then I know another thing that Clark and I had talked about with this is generator safety, which is a key part of a key message, especially a safety message after a storm.
Yeah.
So with generator safety, we have two different categories. So you have permanent generators. So think of standby, and they're a lot more prevalent now, and for good reason. I mean, people, like we've all admitted, electricity is a fundamental part of our lives. Okay, so if you have a standby generator, that needs to be installed. That needs to be installed behind a transfer switch and by a qualified electrician. If you plan on using a portable generator and you want to power your whole house, you need to evaluate, well, what am I powering? Does my generator have the capability to do that? Because the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a situation where you're going to burn up a generator and cause a fire. Okay, and if you are going to use a portable generator and wire it into your house, you for sure need to have a transfer switch. That's where Singing River does not advise, is wiring into the wiring of your house.
It's a backflow.
That's
if
right.
Someone's working on a power line and they crank up their generator and they don't have that transfer, it could shoot electricity towards you guys.
So that generator,
I don't know the proper terms, but
that's exactly what you said is exactly right. So that generator's putting out 120 volts. Okay, so that's what the recommendation is if you're going to use a portable generator, use extension cords, plug up to the things that you want. Let's think about like refrigerators, the basic necessities. Okay, but if you wire it into that house and it's not done correctly, it'll go back through Singing River's distribution system, through the transformer, and it goes backwards through a transformer, and then we get primary voltage. And we have, not only our employees, but hundreds and sometimes even thousands of contractors in the case of like Katrina here on our system. And these employees are getting pushed to the limits of their bodies, right? They're working as fast and as hard as they can, and it just creates an absolute disaster in the making. So take that advice seriously, and always, I'm going to say it again, these steps about making sure that you do this, they're published on our website, and Amanda and her staff have done a great job with our website.
Good.
It's much more navigable than it used to be, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Good deal. So as we are looking at the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, it's just a time to reflect, I guess. It was a tough time in the state of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama as well. It was a very devastating storm. I remember going to bed that Saturday night, and it was not really supposed to be any big deal, but waking up on Sunday morning and you got this beautiful hurricane with this pinpoint eye headed straight for us, and it'll just change the way you look at things. Well, let's talk a little bit about Singing River as your community service. You guys are a pillar to our community. Not only do you do a lot in our community service wise, but you also have hire so many local people. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys do to help our community.
Okay. We have right now 227 employees, and I think that's the most we have ever had. And that's
amazing.
Primarily attributed to our fiber internet business,
Yes.
Singing River Connect, as we've had to have some specialized positions for that. And then people on the electric side, some of them have moved over to the Connect side, and then some of us have double duty on both sides. So it's been an adventure, but that has been a fun thing. And Singing River Electric, one of our 7 cooperative principles is concern for community. So it's built into the fabric of what makes a cooperative what it is. And then we have a grant program, our Neighbors Helping Neighbors community grant program that helps people with local nonprofit schools and government agencies. It's a grant up to $2,500, and that's a 3-time-a-year application period. So we do that to help local nonprofits rather than doing like $50 here and $100 there. It's a more substantial amount of money to make a difference for that organization and the people who use those services. I know we have our Safety City display where our linemen, I know Clark has gone out and done that several times also, where we teach electric safety, not only to school children in the classrooms, but also at community events. This past weekend, we partnered with the Junior Auxiliary for their Build Up boot camp, and we had linemen out there at the fairgrounds talking about equipment and safety and all of that. So we do a lot of things and partnerships with other organizations for the community service. And then our employees, I know Clark is one of these. We have people who coach their local ball teams, and they are on the boards of local nonprofits, and they serve in Rotary and Kiwanis and other civic organizations. So between our 3-county service area, we have a lot of people plugged in, and they love doing it. But they're not only representatives of themselves, but they're also representatives of Singing River Electric. So we're proud that they are involved in the community. And of course, we have new partnerships coming up, and we try and find new ways. And I will tell you about a new thing we're doing on the Singing River Connect side is we have a cybersecurity education program. We have Webbie, the Internet Safety Cat. So we have just launched this. We did some summer reading programs with Webbie the cat. And so we have some fun ways to teach primary elementary school age children about safety online and what to do and what not to do. And so that's something we're rolling out now. So we're quite excited about that. So we have another way, in addition to Safety City, to get in the classroom and interact with children and teachers in the community on something that's important.
I think that is so important, and I'd love to meet Webbie the cat.
Okay.
I think it's so important that internet safety, especially in today's times,
Yes.
teaching young children that safety, and I think that's a wonderful way to teach it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think that just because it's targeted for kids, even adults, all of us can learn something from it.
Absolutely.
Because even me, I'm 30, right? And I've grew up in a technology field world. But I still learn stuff through internet safety. You can never take your identity and your personal measures too far as protecting your assets and what is best and putting out there. So there's something for everybody to learn always.
And once it's out there, it's out there.
That's
Yes,
right.
it
That's
is.
right. So the Singing River Connect, we have it at our home, and it kind of changed our lives. My husband was working from home since COVID, and my son was taking online courses, and that internet was struggling. And when it opened up in our area, and we received the internet, Singing River Connect, it really changed our lives. So it was a great thing. as hot as it's going to be this weekend, okay, because the temperature, I saw the news this morning, like we're expecting heat indexes of 110 throughout the weekend, okay? So what are some tips that Singing River Electric would offer us as far as how can we cut our energy usage? Because everybody's going to have the ACs running full blast. So what is the temperature that you would suggest we set our thermostats to, and some other things to help keep our home cool?
Okay. Yes, as you said, the thermostat, that is the number one driver of your electricity bill during the hot summer months. I know we have the recommended thermostat setting of 78, and I know people roll their eyes and they say, there is no way that I can keep my thermostat at 78. What we try and tell people, though, is keep it as high as comfortably possible. That is going to be the key, because every degree higher on your thermostat, your unit is going to run to keep up. So if it's 100 degrees outside and it's 80 degrees in your house, that's a 20-degree difference that you're trying to fight against the outside temperature. If it's at 78, that's a little more. But if it's at 70, that's a 30-degree difference. And if you're opening doors, if the sun's coming through a window, there's heat. If you're running your dryer or your dishwasher and creating extra heat in your home, it's going to work much harder. So that is a recommendation. So as high as comfortably possible. And then, of course, people have ceiling fans or other fans. Use those when you are in the room. And, that's really the number one thing that our energy consultants and our member service representatives would say, is that the air conditioner is the number one driver. And, of course, keeping the filters clean, changing the filters, making sure it's serviced by a contractor at least once a year to make sure there's Freon. Yes, to make sure that everything is working well and efficiently. That's going to help also, because if there are issues with your unit, you may not know, and that could contribute to a higher bill.
I know that I love how when things are getting kind of to their peak with Singing River, y'all will use social media and say, hey, can you give us a degree or two? Not exactly those words, but I do remember during the snowstorm when it was so cold, okay? I think it was the snowstorm. Anyway, and it was like, okay, we need a little help here. So I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, what's your heat set on? They're asking us to try to conserve. Are you warm enough? And she said, oh, I can give them a couple of degrees. So she went and cut it down. And, of course, we did too. And I always want to do my part to help out. But I love the fact that when we are stressing the system, y'all let us know. Yes. So we can help out. So that's awesome. I love the app that you guys have. The way we report outages now versus 20 years ago is so very different. Would y'all talk about your app just a little bit, and how you can report your power outage on the app? You can, I believe it shows where the outages are located, and sometimes it'll tell you to expect it back at a certain time. Talk a little bit about your app.
So with outage reporting, you're right, it's changed, and it's even changed in the time I've been at Singing River. And some of this it has changed even more recently with Singing River Connect, but the app is a great tool. Okay, and then we also have we use text power. You can text in outages. Okay, and when a new person comes onto our system, they're automatically enrolled in that. And like me, I have it in my phone as Singing River Outage, and by doing that, if you change your cell phone or you change your primary form of contact, right, you need to call into our office and make sure all your information is continually updated. If your address changes, if your number changes, anything that changes, let us know, because we have an automated system. So when you call, our goal is, and a lot of people don't necessarily probably like that, but we want to take and if you have an outage, we would like that system to catch it. And that allows our personnel not to have that interaction, because think about when most power outages happen, it's after hours. Well, it's not during business hours. We're operating with a very limited staff. Okay. So we're trying to improve every efficiency that we can, because our goal is to use technology to improve that efficiency to get your lights back on quicker. So I would ask that our membership's part in that is make sure your information's correct. Utilize your app. SmartHub is great for outages. You can keep track of what outages are going on, but it's also great to make sure that, hey, I can watch my usage. It's not, you can watch your usage. You can watch and see what your home's doing and what you need to do, back to what we just talked about. So if you see, hey, yesterday, Saturday, I might have used X number of kilowatt hours, and you'll be wondering why. Well, you can walk around your house and look for new ideas to improve that, whether that's keep more doors closed, weatherproof your house more, whatever you may need to do. But utilize that technology that we've rolled out to your benefit. With the text power, it also offers things. So every time my lights go out at home, Singing River Electric, before I can ever even notify them, most of the time I'm getting a text back. Hey, we're aware of your outage already. And that's things that the Connect side has brought about. So with Connect, we rolled into a new era with Singing River. We now have a SCADA system. And what that means is we're monitoring all of our substations, and we have a real-time view of what's going on across our system. And having this fiber ring around our system, we've now got plugged in and connected to all of our devices, from the bottom of Jackson County to the very north end of Greene County. So we see what's going on, and that visibility allows us to respond much quicker.
Well, let me just say, mind blown. Boo! Yeah. I am pretty sure that I still had a flip phone when Katrina came through, walking around my yard going, where's my signal? Trying to make a phone call. That is incredible. That is incredible. So let's talk. I really would like to talk about power restoration a little bit. I know that I live in Rocky Creek. And several years ago, we had those tornadoes just kind of dot through Rocky Creek, and power poles just twisted off and everything. So,
that was a very bad day.
It was a bad day.
We were there.
Yes, you were. You were there in a hurry. You were there for a long time.
Yes.
So I remember that day. So I was at home. I don't live far from Rocky Creek, and on my way to work, I get a call from, I remember who it was, Eddie Fleming. He was one of our former employees. He lived right there, and he said, every pole from my house to the stockyard is broken. I said, I told him, I said, Eddie, you're lying. He said, come look. Well, he was not lying. So, with storm restoration, that's a great place to say how we work in outage. So at the stockyard, everybody in George County knows where that's at.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
It's a pillar of the community. Well, we have a substation right there.
Okay.
Well, in that tornado instance, our system from the substation to the curve was completely destroyed. Okay, every pole from the substation or right in front of the stockyard to that curve was broke. I think it was 13 all in total. Well, in a hurricane, it works the same way. We're going to first. We have to get transmission back from our wholesale provider, Cooperative Energy. And then we have to get the substation back in order if there's any damage there. But like in this tornado's case, our main distribution network is that what we call triple circuit in between the stockyard and that curve, and it was all broke. Well, we're going to correct those big problems in order to get the most people on with every move that we make.
Yes.
So first, we get wholesale transmission back. Second, substation. Third, we get the main feeders to think about, hospitals. We have hospitals in the southern end of our county. They're on those main thoroughways. Okay, we're going to work down the bigger lines and try to get the most people on with every move that we make, and then we work it back and get individuals as we come back. So it's a layered approach that we take in that restoration process.
That amazes me. It really does. I know when we built our house, we have a long driveway that's through pine trees. We debated back and forth: do we go underground, or just go the easiest way overhead? And we went underground with our power from wherever it ties into the pole, underground all the way through, and absolutely have never regretted it. Because we live at the end of a dead end road, and like what you're saying, you're going to do as much as you can on the bigger lines first, and then you branch out. So we've never regretted our underground power. So that's another good thing that you can talk about. There you go.
So, and believe it or not, we see a lot more of people requesting underground primary. It's a cosmetic thing. A lot of people don't like to look at poles in their yards, and we realize that, right? So we absolutely we install underground primary to a lot of homes now. Almost every home you go to now has underground service, and that's things that have changed. You can ride around the county and look. You know, older homes around they have overhead now because of code requirements, and it's incredibly challenging to meet overhead, height clearance requirements to go. So we almost 90% of our homes have underground service. They might have overhead coming to a point in their yard and then underground service.
Underground service. Yeah.
I'm a proponent of underground.
We love it. We've never regretted it because, I mean, there's been many times it would have taken a long time for us to get our power back if we had not had that underground service. Because after Zeta, for instance, I mean, we had to chainsaw our way out our driveway. And if we had had to overline, we couldn't have done that as quickly because we would have had to have wait to got the clearance because of the lines being down, etc., before we could start chainsawing our way out. So,
but with underground, there is danger.
Yes,
so
there
is.
is.
It's out of sight. It's out of mind. And what we never think about is, when I want to do home improvement. Okay,
yes.
Let's build a shop. Well, but call Singing River.
Go through know where the lines are.
Yeah, go through Mississippi 811, and we'll come out and locate those facilities because we still have to have a right of way. We have to be able to maintain that because what we do not want to have happen is you all dig into it and put yourself in an adverse situation. That's a very real danger. And just because it's buried in the earth, it's still electricity.
It's still electricity,
and it can still cause harm.
That's right.
It's out of sight, out of mind, but always respect it.
Yes, good deal. Let's think. Let's touch a little bit more on the Singing River Connect, how it impacted students in our communities with schoolwork and stuff. So,
well, it's funny looking back because we think of things now pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Absolutely.
And we did a survey before COVID happened in 2018, 2019 to see if we needed to provide the internet. And the survey basically said no, people had internet. They were happy with it. There was no need for us to do it. And then COVID happened. And having students at home doing the tele-learning, people doing telehealth, people working from home, that was one of the main things that let people know that their internet was not what they thought it was, and that it was not capable of doing all the things that their household required. So students are really part of the reason that we went down the road to provide fiber internet. The other part, as Clark said, is running that 400-mile fiber ring for the SCADA system to benefit the electric side. So they worked hand in hand. But now with students, I know people are back in school, but schools have Chromebooks, they have iPads, they have all kinds of things that they can bring home and they need to complete assignments, or if they're absent from school, they're in Google Classroom completing assignments. So we've heard from so many people with students, work from home, other situations, just normal streaming and outdoor cameras. I mean, it really has changed the lives of people for the better. And they're very grateful. We hear all kinds of great stories. We are completely built out in George County. So any Singing River Electric member who can receive fiber internet can. They just would have to call to sign up and then have it built into their home and have a home installation. But yeah, it's been a game changer for so many on so many levels.
I know in our home, we have to have when we had to go get the booster with the Singing River Connect. So the way our home is built, so where we put the router, okay, and then it had to bounce. But then our son moved home, and he was on the opposite end of the house upstairs, and we got another one. So it just bounces through our house. It works beautifully. Thank
Good.
y'all for that.
Yeah, every home is different.
Every
so
home's
if you're
different.
if you have a metal roof, or if you have walls certain places, or if it's by
Right.
the routers by the microwave, there are so many things that can affect how it performs, and depending on what he's doing on the other end of the house, if he's gaming or upstairs. That's the beauty of it, is the extenders can bring it outside. It can bring it upstairs. It can bring it where you need to. And of course, our technicians, some people are not savvy in setting all of that up. So our technicians are there to help do that, help design it and figure out, we want you to be covered. You should not have any buffering. So if you do, let us know so we can come out and help figure out how to correct it.
Yeah, we have it come in the house in the sunroom, because that's closest to where my husband's office was when he was working from home, and then it sits on our kitchen counter, and then it goes upstairs.
Okay,
So it's just
good.
boom, boom, boom.
So yours is figured out.
It works. We got it figured out. That worked wonderfully. I want to touch on what was the little cat's name for internet safety again?
Webbie.
Webbie. I want to touch on Webbie a little bit more.
Okay.
So do y'all go into the elementary schools? Do you have opportunities to do that? Or is that something you're looking to expand to? Or
Well, we started with 3 summer reading programs through the Jackson George Regional Library System. We went to St. Martin, Moss Point, and Loosedale. So we kind of kicked it off there as a test, and added a bingo portion where we have an interactive game. We have stickers and temporary tattoos and a coloring book and pencils. So we actually, on our Facebook page, we sent out the link to how to request that for teachers. And so we had a lot of people share that. So with school just starting again, we are looking to get into the classrooms.
I think that's
So we're
incredible.
excited about it. I know our fiber team is excited about it. And I know that we had great feedback from the libraries. So we're looking now to expand that and get into the classrooms. And that way we can refine it also depending on the student questions, or if teachers have specific concerns that they want to make sure their students know. But yeah, it's brand new right now. So we're very excited.
I'm excited about Webbie the cat. I
Yes.
think that's incredible. Also, y'all have adult education classes too when you sign up for Singing River Connect, because I know my husband went to help figure out what TV provider and all kinds of things with singing. Touch on that just a little bit.
Yes. We have hosted several, we call them learning labs.
Learning labs. Okay.
We had one in Gaucher this past week at the Hickory Hills Golf Course. And the point of the learning lab is to help people with streaming, to understand streaming, to know what your options are with live TV, on demand, free options. We do talk about cybersecurity there. We talk about Wi-Fi calling and the fact that, if you have bad cell service at your home, you can turn on Wi-Fi calling and you can still have service in your house thanks to the Wi-Fi. We talk about smart home devices, and even starting with the smart plug. You don't have to have a smart home all at once, but with the Wi-Fi availability, the reliable Wi-Fi availability, people can start to do things like smart plugs, smart bulbs, Alexa devices, smart thermostats also on the electric side. And it really kind of gives an introduction to that. And we've had people who are current subscribers. We've had people who are interested in the service but want to learn more. But there is definitely a cost savings when people cut the cord. They have an internet provider like Singing River Connect.
Yes.
And if they pick up a streaming service and then use some free options, it can really help with their bill, and they won't have the buffering that they might have otherwise with streaming because of the great fiber internet connection.
Yes, it changed our lives too. It lowered our bills. And my husband was just impressed that y'all had done all the homework and you had it all laid out. This one will give you these channels.
Yes.
This one would do this. And so he could actually sit down and compare, because he does love to watch his sports and his TV and all that fun stuff. So that was a great thing.
And then just the family savings of that,
Yes.
with some of these streaming providers, like you mentioned your son, even if he wasn't at home, you can have a streaming option, and then he could be in a different state and utilize that same streaming option, and it be part of a family account.
That's right.
It's not just a localized savings; it can be a family savings. I know personally we do that between our home and our camp. That was a huge savings for us. You start cutting the cord on some of those traditional, what we grew up with, satellite services, and that adds up quickly. Yeah. It's just another thing that us getting into the internet, fiber has brought about, and it's been great.
And that channel guide is available on our website. Anybody can go to it. It's at singingriverconnect.com under the Stream Now tab, and you can go in and plug in what your favorite channels are, and you can see, if you want live TV, especially now with football season coming up, you want to make sure you get those games. You can pick what channels you want, and it'll tell you which provider will include all of those, and it'll tell you if you need an add-on for some. So it's a great tool, and that way you're not spending money that you're not worried about for things you're not going to watch.
That's great. Well, Stacy's reminded me that let's talk a little bit. Let's switch gears from summertime storms to winter storms, and let's talk about what happens when we have those rare events in South Mississippi, such as snow or ice come through, and how that affects our power. I know that ice can get real heavy on tree limbs and cause them to break off and fall and bring down power lines. But what the differences between summertime and wintertime storms, maybe?
So from number one, from our standpoint, there's an employee safety part of that, right? So with a wintertime storm, we have to evaluate. Well, we're asking people to go out in and work. So with a hurricane, it's obvious. It's either it's pretty obvious. You got a wind, and that's your threat. With ice, it's not that straightforward. It depends on, well, how quick is the temperature dropping? Has there been precipitation? Because these ice storms, it can just be a cold weather event, like you mentioned before, when we've texted out. Can you conserve your usage for XYZ event that's went on elsewhere? But in a true ice storm, the ice accumulates on tree limbs. Well, it also accumulates on our power lines, and that adds weight. Okay, it adds weight on all of this wire, and then that adds weight on the poles. So as these things start happening, it's the weight added, then it interacts with the coldness of the system, and everything gets tighter, because as things get cold, it contracts. So it makes our system like a toothpick almost, and when a tree falls, it just snaps. And then logistically, we got a challenge of, well, how do we get trucks out on these icy roads to get there? And it's a bear to handle, but we've responded well, and our employees have stepped up to the challenge and have done a fantastic job in our mission of providing, efficient, safe, reliable service.
I know this past winter when we had the snowstorm, which was beautiful, by the way. We don't get that. It's rare that we get that in South Mississippi, but it also provided so many challenges. I know the roads were so iced over for so long, but then a couple of winters ago, we had the temperature drop so rapidly. I think it was in December, maybe right before Christmas time, maybe. And it just dropped, fast. That nor'easter came through and it went down.
It was normal, then it was just cold.
And it wasn't just cold. It was like 10 degrees outside.
Miserable cold.
Yes.
So,
and that might have been the event you were referring to, when you were talking about, we sent out these messages to conserve.
That may have been
And
the one I was thinking about.
And I'll elaborate on that a little bit of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, don't think of those events as Singing River Electric system,
Yes.
Failing. Those events aren't our system. Our system has performed well and will continue to perform well.
Yes.
That's not our system failing, and it's not even our wholesale provider system failing. But rather there's a market called the MISO market, and without getting way off in the weeds, basically all the transmission grid of America is all tied together, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and in separate things. And when you stress the system with large amounts of electric load, it can be an event in the northern part of the United States that affects the transmission in South Mississippi. So just think about, you're relying on all these plants built across the entirety of our country. And if one fails, the way these agreements work on the transmission side is they shed load from the whole thing. So when we're asking to conserve, we're being asked by our transmission provider, appeal to your membership, okay, to bring down usage. Don't think about it as your electric cooperative here at home system is failing. That's not the case. We're being asked conserve to protect the integrity of the electric system.
That makes so much sense. I never knew that.
Yep.
That's very interesting. So when it's 15 degrees here, it could be negative 15 up north, which is causing more stress and more stress,
Yep.
Yeah.
And as you push these plants, it's an aging infrastructure. As you push them, you load them to peak capacity. They some may trip off and fail under pressure. Well, electricity, as it's produced, it has to be consumed. It can't be stored. So whatever the demand is, it has to be utilized in that instant. So it's a constantly moving thing, and it's a complex thing that our transmission providers, who do a great job of keeping us with service, do.
Well, I have much more respect, even in this moment, than I ever have, and I've always respected you guys so much for what you do. So,
Thank you. Yeah, supply and demand. It's a real
supply
thing.
and demand.
You don't think about it, but
Yeah.
and we do our part. When they ask us to do it, I mean, we have to be team players because we're benefiting from the electricity. So we have to be part of it to make sure that the system, endures and survives the cold weather event when all those heaters are running or when all those air conditioners are running. So we
Either
know.
or.
Either
Yes,
or.
Either or. Amazing. Well, I've just learned so much from you guys today, and I have it's been a pleasure getting to know you guys. Absolutely been a pleasure. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Singing River Electric Cooperative today?
Really just that we appreciate our members. What we do is for them. Everything we do is for them and for their benefit. And now, for Singing River Connect, we are doing this build out for our subscribers who are also Singing River Electric members. So that's what we are about. That's our mission and purpose day in and day out, from our messaging to Clark and all the operations and engineering to our linemen. So, I mean, we are here for our membership, and, we love what we do. It can be hard in storms and other situations, but we love it. We love our communities, and we are very appreciative of you asking us to be here today too.
Oh, I have enjoyed it thoroughly. So just to remind everybody, we need to check out the SmartHub app. And then what was that website where all the information could be found about everything that we talked about?
So if you just go on Google and type in Singing River Electric, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
It'll pop up the link, and you can browse
all
through all the
kinds of
different
resources.
options. All kinds.
All the resources. Well, I appreciate you guys being here today so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.